Italians have always had a knack of making desirable two-seater sports cars, but in all honesty, the really good ones have not exactly been what you'd call affordable, and those that were, cars like the Fiat Barchetta, were not very good. Yes, it was designed for enthusiasts on a budget, but it was only available as a left-hand drive and it had a dreadful reliability record. Up step then this, the Fiat 124 Spider, a car with 60s heritage, an open-top sports car that has all the stylish lines you'd expect from an Italian car manufacturer, but it's based on a car that comes from Japan, a nation famous for impeccable reliability. To me, that sounds like a perfect combination. So, as you can see right from the off, the 124 is available as a right-hand drive, and already that makes it a huge improvement over its 90s predecessor. But what's even better than that is that when you strip it right down, you'll find that it's largely based on the hugely successful Mazda MX-5. Now, it may be hard to spot the similarities from the outside. That's because almost every body panel has been changed in the interest of retro design. What you won't see is that most of the similarities underneath and even some of the interior are exactly the same as its Japanese cousin. There have been some changes though to the setup to make it differentiate from the MX-5. The steering has a more weighty feel to it and there's more soundproofing to make it more refined. It also gets a 6-speed manual box and the suspension has been tweaked too. It hasn't lost the character that makes the MX-5 so special, but it does make it feel a little more sensible. The only other major notable difference is the engine. To start off with, there's only one available. That takes the form of a 138 brake horsepower turbocharged 1.4 litre petrol that's been borrowed from the Alfa Mito. It's an engine that's been around for a while now and is one of Fiat's more reliable units, so it should prove more successful than the engines of old. Performance isn't what you'd call blistering, but this is more about enjoying the journey rather than all-out performance. 0 to 60 takes 7.5 seconds, top speed 134 miles per hour. Now, if you do want more power, you will have to pay for it, around £6,000 more, and opt for the Abarth 124. That gets the same engine, but power has been dialed up to just short of 170 brake horsepower. That makes for a 0 to 60 time of around 6.8 seconds and a top speed of 144 miles per hour. The 124 is matched to this slick 6-speed manual gearbox too. When combined with the responsive steering, it really makes it a focused driving machine. Push it to its limits of grip and the back end will playfully step out of line before, of course, the safety systems kick in, but they can be switched off. Drive it carefully and it'll return an average fuel economy of just over 44 miles per gallon, with emissions of 148 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, anyone familiar with the Mazda MX-5 will find themselves right at home behind the wheel of the 124. In fact, if you put one hand over the steering wheel and one hand over the gear lever, you'd be hard pushed to tell the difference. Now, all the controls are neatly positioned around the driver, right through from the pedals to the gear lever. But anyone who is particularly tall will struggle. There isn't a great range of movement on the seat, and the steering wheel only moves for height. The cabin materials are also of a relatively high standard too. If anything, it's slightly more premium in here than the Mazda. There's a leather trimmed steering wheel, electric windows, air conditioning, as well as the same 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system and rotary dial that you'll find in the MX-5. Practicality is never at the forefront when it comes to a two-seater sports car, but let's be honest, you can forgive it for not having a big boot if it drives well. There's a few handy storage bins in the cabin, and the boot, while it isn't what you'd call vast, is a good shape, offering 140 litres of space. Now, there's one feature on the 124 which I prefer over the MX-5, and that's opening the boot. On the 124 it's just underneath the brake light, nice and simple, but on the MX-5 it's a lot lower down underneath the number plate, which means you're more likely to get your fingers dirty. Reviving a name like the 124 was always going to be something of a gamble, but as we all know, Fiat are the masters of breathing life into badges from the past. Just take a look at the Fiat 500. So with a bit of Italian design and some Japanese know-how, and there'd be few people who'd bet against the 124 being a success. If you're looking for something fun, well built and affordable, then it should definitely be worth considering, especially if a Mazda MX-5 was already on your radar.